Hello and welcome to Clay to Canopy, the show where I attempt to make just about everything from the ground up. And welcome to Ode to the Pumpkin, an autumnal cooking series. In this video, I'm going to be making pumpkin gnocchi, so come on, let's do this. For the pumpkin gnocchi, I have 3/4 of a cup of pureed pumpkin, and then I have equal amounts, 3/4 of a cup of flour, and a little bit of extra here off to the side just in case. This is going to depend on the stickiness of my dough. Then I have 1 egg yolk, 2 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of some nutmeg. So I am just going to be dumping all of this into the bowl. This is a very, very easy thing to make. I think people are a little bit intimidated because it's a pasta from scratch, but they're pretty simple, pretty easy to make. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw my wet ingredients into this bigger bowl first. So I'm gonna do my pumpkin, my egg yolk, basically everything except the flour first, because I want to get it all mixed up. Oi, best laid plans. Half my cheese is on the table. So the cheese is tastes. So I could have added some more cheese. I actually added a little bit more cheese in this recipe than most anyway. So maybe that's a sign of I had too much cheese to begin with, falling out on the table. Okay, then add in my flour. As it's sticky, it's meant to be a dough. Eventually I'm going to be sticking my hand in here, but I'm just trying to get as much as I can incorporated. And there we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and go for it with my hand. I'm going to start off kneading it in this bowl because it can get a little bit messy and out of hand. And the bowl helps me keep it all contained. Now this is why I got that extra flour. This is going to depend on just how sticky your pumpkin is, just how big your egg yolk is. So you're just going to be adding some flour to get rid of the sticky. It's coming together. Alright, I am going to transfer my dough to a floured board. Brought out my flour because apparently I needed to add quite a bit more flour because my pumpkin was wet. Probably should have drained this pumpkin instead of pureeing it, but here we are. Just going to do a bit more kneading. It is still a little sticky for my liking, so we're going to knead this up. So the dough does have to rest for 10 minutes after kneading before I can do any shaping. Alright, my gnocchi dough has returned from its slumber. I have this Wilton candy mold that is in the shape of pumpkins that I thought I'd give a go and see if we can't make some pumpkin shaped gnocchi using this mold. So I'm just adding some flour. I don't want the gnocchi to stick. And I'm going to take a small amount of my dough, press it into this shape. Come on, can you give me the whole pumpkin? Now you don't have to use a mold. You could roll this into a coil. We'll do them the traditional way. One second. Let's see if I can get this to work. Don't even know if this is going to work. Mold I thought would be a really cute idea. Make some little pumpkins. Alright, let's see. Did it work? Did it work? Not a bad idea. Cute little pumpkins. Totally worked. Yay. Alright, that one I didn't pick up enough flour in the beginning. So you could just roll yourself out basically a coil like so. And then slice it up and give yourself little chunks of the dough. But I really like these pumpkins, and we're going to continue with this pumpkin idea. I'm going to finish out my dough here, pressing it in here and getting myself enough pumpkins to fill a plate. Alright, let's get this party started. We are going to throw in about a tablespoon of butter to start. This is going to become more than that as we use it for the sauce, but we're going to start that off on my pan. While I was letting my dough rest, I took a wander through the garden and I picked up some chives, some oregano, some thyme. I have 2 different varieties of oregano. I know a lot of people pair sage with pumpkin, and I did that for one of the other recipes I made in this series, and I didn't want to do that for everyone. So did that. I'm just gonna coarsely chop up. I also picked up some chives. And I know chive seems like an odd thing to mix with thyme and the oregano, but chive will add a little bit of green to the dish as well, color-wise. All right, so got our butter going, and I'm gonna start these off with the bad side down, or the not so pretty side down. For a softer, more tender gnocchi, boil your gnocchi for 5 to 8 minutes in some hot water before adding to this pan of butter. So I got this on the highest heat, which if you compare this heat of this little electric burner to the heat on the gas stove that I have in my kitchen, it's probably the equivalent of a medium rather than a high, especially since this burner is a bit smaller. On a high heat, we're looking at about 5 to 8 minutes on this side to let it do its thing, brown up, and then flip them over. On this one, it might be a little bit longer than expected. I threw a top over them to get a little bit of a steaming action going, and it has been about 8 minutes. I'm going to do a flipperoo. Smells goody, goody, goody. Uneven heat because I'm using this burner out here that's not quite the best, but here we are, getting the job done anyway. If I was smart, I'd have put all of the small ones on the outside and the little big ones on the inside, but here we are. What else? All right, we're gonna add in some more butter because we want to create a bit of a sauce. And then I'm gonna add in my herbs. And some salt. I am using salted butter, but add in a little bit of salt anyway. And then I have some nutmeg just to add a bit of that autumn flavorings. And I also have some walnuts that I rustled up. Just gonna coarse chop. So a lot of people ask me about recipes, and to be honest, I will Google something and use it very loosely and then sort of just make it up as I go. So I went into the freezer and I'm like, what can I throw in? And I'm like, oh, I'll throw in some walnuts, I'll throw in a little nutmeg, I'll throw in these spices. This is kind of how this came about. I'm making up the recipe as I go here on this sauce. I did follow loose guidelines about the gnocchi, but nothing really official. And I am also gonna cut up my chive, give this a little shake. A little chive action. I don't know why I brought out this tiny ass chopping board. But here we are. Love me a good flip. Now you can boil your gnocchi like a regular pasta, but I like the color on it. I like the sear kind of look going on. Add in my chives. One last toss, and we are ready to plate. All right, y'all, moment of truth, moment of truth. Here we go. Let's see what we got going on with this pumpkin gnocchi. Goody, 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 goody. So cute too. Alright, I really love this idea. The mold worked out great. Alright, there you have it, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you have not done so already. And I hope to see you soon. In this video, I'm going to be making some potato... Whoa! Apparently ain't making much of that other than a mess. Oi, oi, oi! You saw nothing. The magic of TV.